Even under the worst packaging, incredible talent and strength can be hidden. Today's heroine has fully demonstrated this. The soft murmur of conversation and the delicate clinking of fine china filled the upscale restaurant, the Crescent Pearl, in New Orleans. Under the warm glow of vintage chandeliers, and with the subtle aroma of truffle oil and freshly baked bread wafting through the air, the space exuded an air of refined luxury. In one corner of the opulent dining room, a slightly time-worn grand piano sat silent and somewhat forlorn, its ebony curves sheltered beneath a layer of dust and longing. Amid the elegant diners and sophisticated chatter, Debora Wilson moved gracefully among the tables. A young African-American waitress with gentle eyes and a quiet voice, Debora wore a modest uniform that barely concealed her secret, a burning passion for music. For years, she had nurtured a dream of becoming a pianist, practicing tirelessly on an old keyboard at home, her sanctuary where every note whispered of hope and determination. Yet tonight, fate seemed poised to challenge that dream. As the evening progressed, the sophisticated ambience was suddenly disrupted by the entrance of Harrison Lawson, a local millionaire renowned for his haughty demeanor. Clad in a sharply tailored suit and surrounded by a group of equally ostentatious friends, Lawson swept into the restaurant with a swagger that commanded attention. His eyes, cold and dismissive, scanned the room until they locked onto Debora. With a smirk twisting his lips, he strode purposefully toward the lounge area where the grand piano rested. "Ah, what do we have here?" Lawson boomed with a derisive tone as he approached. Raising his voice so that it echoed through the room, he declared, "Show us, miss. What can a humble waitress possibly offer us on this old relic? Play something decent, or prove that your so-called dreams aren't just another fairy tale." His words dripped with condescension and mockery as laughter broke out among his entourage. Even a few of the nearby diners exchanged sly, knowing glances, their amusement at the unfolding spectacle evident. At the same time, the low hum of televisions mounted behind the hostess station and the soft background chatter of the restaurant provided a contradictory soundtrack, one that underscored both the refined veneer and the underlying tension. The clink of crystal glasses and the gentle murmur of discreet conversations created a delicate backdrop to the scene. Debora paused as Lawson's words sliced through the ambience. She felt her heart quicken, the mix of humiliation and resolve stirring every fiber of her being. For years, she had suppressed her talent in hope of a quiet life, working diligently, dreaming secretly. But tonight, confronted by Lawson's derision, every ounce of her hidden passion surged forth. Her gaze shifted to the grand piano in the corner. Its keys, dark and awaiting, seemed to beckon her with the promise of transformation. The surrounding onlookers' eyes were heavy with anticipation. Some held their breath while others exchanged curious, hushed whispers. Lawson continued his jeering with a cavalier audacity, his voice laced with the certainty that Debora would falter. "Let's see if the waitress who claims to have a heart for music can at least strike a chord with us." He sneered loudly, as if daring her to defy him. In that charged moment, Debora's inner world churned. Every secret hour spent practicing her craft at home, every note that she had played in the solitude of her dreams, now collided with the public mockery of a man determined to see her humiliated. Her hands trembled slightly as she approached the piano. The grand instrument, with its vintage elegance and muted history, stood as a silent witness to the challenge laid before her. Debora hesitated for only a heartbeat. Then, with her eyes resolute and her quiet determination blazing within, she reached out and gently ran her fingertips over the keys. The murmurs subsided. The room held its breath in that suspended moment, as though it sensed that something transformative was about to occur. Debora took a deep, stabilizing breath as she stepped forward to the grand piano. The polished wood of the instrument reflected a spectrum of warm lights that contrasted sharply with the cold judgment in the eyes of Harrison Lawson and his entourage. With every step, her heart pounded louder, but her resolve remained unbroken. She settled onto the bench, her fingers poised hesitantly above the ebony keys. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still. Every eye in the restaurant was fixed on her, and even the clinking of glasses and soft hum of background conversation faded into silence. In the charged stillness, Lawson's mocking laugh cut through the air again. "Let's see if the waitress can make magic happen or if it's just another fairy tale," he sneered, his voice a blend of arrogance and scorn. His tone, dripping with derision, sent ripples of uncertainty through the nearby tables occupied by his group of friends, who exchanged knowing smirks as if they were witnessing a destined failure. Yet, as Debora's trembling hand lowered a piece of chalk to mark her starting point on a nearby sheet of music that had been placed for her reference, something shifted internally. Memories of countless hidden nights spent practicing on an old keyboard in the cramped corner of her modest home surged forward. The long hours of studying notes, the whispers of her grandmother's voice teaching her long-forgotten melodies, and the fierce yearning that had kept her dreaming despite every discouragement. With that inner power now fueling her spirit, she pressed down on the keys. The first note rang out, a clear, pure tone that sliced through the oppressive tension like a beam of light. It was as if the piano had awakened from a long sleep, responding immediately to Debora's determined touch. The gentle, resonant sound filled the room gradually, drawing an involuntary pause from the onlookers. Even Lawson's face betrayed a flicker of disbelief as the sound took shape, more beautiful and precise than he had expected from a young woman he had so eagerly predicted would falter. Her fingers continued to dance across the keys with an elegance that belied the earlier nervousness. In a seamless blend of jazz and classical influences, Debora began to improvise, a spontaneous medley that intertwined delicate phrases reminiscent of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, with soulful strains echoing the raw emotion of New Orleans blues. Each note was deliberate, each pause a moment of reflective beauty. The music's rising cadence seemed to wrap the room in a cocoon of transformative sound. As Debora played, the atmosphere in the Crescent Pearl underwent a striking metamorphosis. The previously derisive murmurs and mocking glances from Lawson's group receded into hushed awe. Diners who had once been absorbed in idle conversation now directed their attention toward the piano, their faces softening as the complex fusion of rhythms and emotions poured from Debora's fingertips. The magnificent interplay between jazz improvisation and classical structure resonated deeply, stirring unexpected moments of introspection among even the most skeptical. Inside her mind, Debora recalled the countless pages of vinyl records, the old sheet music from her grandmother's collection, and the secret lessons she had absorbed from worn library books at the community center. Each memory lent strength to her performance, transforming her initial hesitation into a powerful assertion of talent and resilience. The music flowed with a confidence that grew with every measure, and the blend of bright, crisp high notes with mellow, soulful lower tones created a rich tapestry that spoke of both struggle and triumph. A few students near the front leaned forward, their eyes wide in amazement. Whispers began to circulate, exclamations of, "Wow, listen to her play," and "I can't believe it," as the once dismissive facade of the wealthy patrons, including Lawson, started to crumble under the weight of genuine admiration. Debora's performance, raw and brilliant, seemed to challenge the very notion of who deserved to succeed. At that pivotal moment, the first few mesmerizing notes resonating through the luxurious restaurant, setting the stage for an unforgettable clash between preconceptions and undeniable talent. The air shimmered with promise. Debora's fingers moved with quiet determination and raw emotion, heralding the beginning of a transformation that would soon upend not just the mood in the room, but also the balance of power between a condescending elite and a woman driven by passion and hard-won skill. Debora's fingers danced across the keys, and the restaurant fell into an almost sacred hush. With every note, she began to weave a tapestry of sound that was both deeply soulful and startlingly fresh. A seamless fusion of jazz improvisation and classical precision. The melody started softly, evoking the gentle lilt of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, yet it soon took on the raw, almost bluesy inflections of the New Orleans streets. Her playing was not merely a performance. It was a declaration, a quiet, resolute defiance against the expectations meant to silence her. As Debora continued to play, the room's initial murmurs of derision congealed into a rapt, suspended silence. The clinks of fine crystal and the low hum of conversation faded into the background, replaced by the enchanting sound of her impromptu composition. Every key struck carried the weight of years spent in solitude, evenings alone in a cramped apartment practicing on an old keyboard, drawing inspiration from her grandmother's parsley-laced, soulful lullabies. In that moment, the integration of those influences was evident in her fluid phrasing and spontaneous modulations. Her improvisation built layer upon layer. Crisp, clear high notes broke through a steady bed of mellow, soulful chords. Unexpected shifts in tempo hinted at a hidden narrative of struggle, aspiration, and quiet triumph. With deft precision, Debora introduced subtle rhythmic patterns, recalling the syncopated beats of New Orleans jazz, while deftly navigating through the complex structure of the classical piece. Each nuance was imbued with emotion, as if her heart was translating all the years of unspoken pain and hope into sound. In the midst of the performance, the crowd's reaction shifted palpably. What had begun as a spectacle of imposed humiliation was now transformed into an immersive musical experience. Diners paused mid-conversation. Even the clinking of glasses seemed to slow down in reverence. A few well-dressed patrons in Lawson's entourage exchanged breathless glances, their earlier smirks dissolving into expressions of surprise and even admiration. Some students in the corner, who had doubted her abilities, leaned forward with eyes wide in wonder, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief and awe. Harrison Lawson, whose earlier challenge had been delivered with a haughty sneer, now sat silently. His confident facade wavered, and for a long minute, his expression was unreadable. A mix of disbelief, discomfort, and perhaps a grudging recognition that his preconceived notions were being dismantled note by note. Meanwhile, a group of regular patrons and even a few off-duty employees, compelled by the raw authenticity of Debora's performance, began to applaud softly. The sound of clapping started at the back of the room and slowly built into a gentle crescendo, a murmur of approval that rippled through the restaurant. Inside, Debora's mind was alive with memories. She recalled the many nights when she had hesitated to reveal her talent, fearing judgment and knowing that her dreams of playing the piano publicly were often dismissed by those around her. But here, in this lavish setting, every note she played was a quiet revolution against the expectations imposed on her by society and by individuals like Lawson. Her inner voice whispered, "This is for every overlooked dream. This is for every moment I was told I wasn't enough." Her improvisation climbed to a soaring peak as she skillfully interlaced a brisk, syncopated bridge that melded seamlessly with the lingering strains of a soulful piano ballad. The musical complexity of the piece spoke volumes of her deep knowledge. A secret treasure trove of self-taught techniques gleaned from discarded and time-worn library books. In that transcendent moment, the boundaries between jazz and classical blurred, and Debora's performance became a testament to the transformative power of passion and perseverance. The air itself seemed to vibrate with energy and possibility. Every tween of Debora's expression told a story of quiet resolve and unspoken hardship. As she entered the final stretch of her performance, the entire audience collectively leaned forward, anticipating that climactic flourish, a moment that would define not only her talent, but also the fall of every low expectation cast her way. And then, as she prepared to unleash the final crescendo of her improvised masterpiece, the room held its breath. The echoes of her previous measures promised that the final note would be a breathtaking culmination. In that suspended, fragile moment before the next chord was struck, it was clear that Debora had already begun to reinvent her identity in the eyes of everyone present. As Debora's eyes danced with determination over the keys, the ethereal strains of her performance cascaded through the restaurant, transforming the ambience into something almost otherworldly. Every note was a bold stroke against the canvas of disdain that had earlier marred her path. Amid the soulful blend of jazz improvisation and classical elegance, the sharp criticisms that had once echoed in the room began to dissolve. At the center of this unfolding spectacle, Harrison Lawson's haughty sneer dwindled into a pained frown. Lawson, who had entered the restaurant with an air of condescension, now found his voice quivering under the weight of undeniable talent. Each resonant chord from Debora's playing seemed to chip away at his finely built facade. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his once confident gaze now clouded with uncertainty. Even his friends, previously echoing his derision, began to exchange disbelieving looks. The smirk on his face faded, replaced by a mixture of shock and embarrassment that slowly crept over him like a chill. In a corner of the restaurant, a sharp-eyed man with a polished demeanor was busy recording on his smartphone. It was Michael Everett, a well-known local music producer whose discerning ear had once scouted emerging talents under the neon lights of intimate jazz clubs. As he captured every nuance of Debora's live performance, the deft improvisations, the seamless weaving of bluesy licks into classical phrases, Michael's eyes widened in awe. "Incredible," he murmured to himself, recognizing that here was a talent that transcended mere performance. It was a demonstration of pure, transformative artistry, the fusion of soft, soulful melodies with an undercurrent of fierce determination grew more intense with each passing minute. Every note that Debora played seemed to echo throughout the restaurant, momentarily silencing the clink of crystal glasses and the murmuring conversations of other diners. The atmosphere shifted palpably. What had begun as a stifling aura of entitlement and judgment now pulsed with genuine admiration and wonder. Waiters paused mid-service, their expressions softening as they listened. Groups of diners, previously absorbed in their own private discussions, now turned their attention toward the grand piano in a state of rapt attentiveness. At one point, as Debora smoothly transitioned into an unexpected bridge that melded the improvisational flair of Rhapsody in Blue with the mournful echoes of New Orleans blues, Lawson's eyes darted nervously. His posture, once upright and defiant, slumped imperceptibly. The very energy in the room, charged by Debora's mastery, seemed to expose his vulnerability. With every deft solution to a seemingly insurmountable problem, Lawson's confidence unraveled further. Unable to withstand the mounting evidence of his own miscalculation, Lawson finally shifted in his seat and leaned forward, his voice trembling as it broke the silence. I'm sorry," he stammered, his words barely audible above the soft strains of the piano. The admission, so unexpected from someone of his seeming stature, sent a ripple of muted astonishment throughout the room. His friends stared in stunned silence, as if unsure whether to laugh or console him, while a few of the diners clapped hesitantly at this rare display of humility. Meanwhile, Debora, still lost in her performance, allowed the music to swell, her hands moving with an effortless grace that belied the years of secret practice. Every note was a testament to the countless hours spent in quiet rebellion against dismissive voices. She felt a powerful connection with the audience, a shared understanding that talent, though often hidden, could not be stifled forever. The soft applause that began at the back of the room steadily grew into an enthusiastic ovation, filling the space with an echo of renewed hope and respect. As the final chord resonated through the air, the silence that followed was profound, a brief but potent pause that spoke volumes. In that suspended instant, Lawson's apology, delivered in a low, remorseful whisper, hung in the air like a fragile offering of contrition. His voice, now stripped of arrogance, carried the weight of an inevitable reckoning and the unspoken acknowledgement that fairness and talent had triumphed over prejudice. The grand piano, the clinking of glasses, and the soft hum of the restaurant all faded into the background as Debora sat back, her eyes glistening with quiet triumph. The transformation of the atmosphere, from jeers to genuine applause, from contempt to admiration, was complete. In that dramatic moment, captured on Michael Everett's recording and echoed in every stunned, appreciative glance, Debora's performance had not only silenced the detractors, but had also redefined what it meant to overcome a biased system. The final note faded into a momentary, hushed silence that quickly erupted into thunderous applause. The restaurant's luxurious ambience, once filled with condescending whispers and doubtful glances, now resounded with genuine admiration. Debora sat back from the piano bench, her eyes glistening with a mix of relief and triumphant pride as the sound of clapping grew steadily from every corner of the Crescent Pearl. Amid the din, Harrison Lawson, previously haughty and dismissive, lowered his gaze. His once commanding sneer now gave way to an awkward, remorseful expression. I apologize," he stuttered, barely audible over the approving cheers of the audience. His apology, however, was as ineffectual as it was belated. The people's attention had shifted dramatically from ridicule to respect toward the musician before them. It wasn't long before Michael Everett, the discerning local music producer, emerged from the crowd. Clad in a dark blazer and carrying a sleek smartphone, he navigated through clusters of mesmerized diners until he stood before Debora. "That was extraordinary," he declared, his voice husky with genuine excitement. "I've rarely witnessed such innovation and soul in a live performance. Your ability to seamlessly merge jazz improvisation with classical finesse is nothing short of revolutionary." Debora smiled shyly, still catching her breath, her heart pounding yet steadied by the warmth in his tone. "Thank you," she managed softly, her voice reflecting both humility and quiet confidence. Michael wasted no time. "I'm a music producer, and I see immense potential in your talent," he continued, sliding a sleek business card across the table toward her. "I'd like to offer you a contract to record a demo and perhaps explore opportunities for live performances. I truly believe your unique style, rooted in personal struggle and self-taught mastery, can touch hearts far beyond this restaurant." A low murmur of excited whispers arose among nearby diners and staff. Even Harrison Lawson, now relegated to a silent observer, looked on with a mixture of disbelief and envy as Debora gingerly picked up the card. Her eyes scanned the details written in crisp typeface. The offer was as promising as it was unexpected, a gateway from the life of an overlooked waitress to a future in the spotlight. For a few long moments, Debora allowed herself to bask in this radical transformation. The sprawling restaurant, with its clinking of fine crystal, warm golden hues, and the lingering aroma of truffle and espresso, had become a stage for an unforgettable act of personal vindication. Her performance, once forced out as a means of humiliation, had turned into a powerful assertion of her talent and determination. The elegant interplay of music had not just silenced her detractors, but had sparked a tangible opportunity that now lay in her hands. As more guests gathered around to congratulate her, and the energy of applause mingled with excited chatter, Debora felt a surge of overwhelming hope. Her earlier hesitance, born from years of keeping her passion subdued, had blossomed into a declaration that dreams should never be quieted by prejudice or scorn. The room buzzed with the realization that a single, heartfelt performance could redefine not just personal destiny, but perceptions of talent and worth. Even as the officials in the restaurant began to capture the moment on their smartphones, the seeds of a viral story were sown, one that would soon be shared across social media, inspiring countless others to trust in their hidden strengths. And amid the joyful clamor, Debora's gaze lingered on Michael's encouraging smile, a silent pledge to pursue her dreams, regardless of the obstacles. The stage was now set for what would inevitably become a campus, and then community phenomenon. With a newfound contract offer and the taste of success so sweet on her lips, Debora took a deep breath, savoring the applause that resonated like a promise. Her journey was just beginning, and every note she had played would serve as a reminder to all: talent, when nurtured and expressed with passion, can overcome even the most entrenched biases. In the days following Debora's breathtaking performance at the Crescent Pearl, the video of her impromptu piano recital exploded across social media. Within hours, it had become a viral sensation on platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Students, seasoned professionals, and curious onlookers alike rewatched every moment. From the echo of Debora's first tentative chord to the soaring crescendo that transformed skepticism into adoration. Hashtags like #CrescentPearlMagic, #DeborahPlays, and #BelieveInYourself began trending, capturing the hearts of thousands and sparking conversations about creativity, resilience, and defying expectations. Before long, Debora received an influx of offers via email and social media messages. Amid the many congratulatory notes, Michael Everett's proposal shone the brightest. The video that had been recorded by Michael was now widely viewed and praised by critics, and it helped validate the extraordinary performance that had captured the collective imagination of the city. One breezy autumn afternoon, Debora found herself sitting across from Michael in a modern conference room at a local recording studio. The walls were adorned with vintage jazz posters, and the faint hum of creative energy permeated the space. "Debora," Michael began, his voice earnest and warm, "what you shared with the world is not just an expression of talent. It's a revolution. I'd like to formally offer you a contract to record a demo. I believe that your blend of improvisational jazz and classical influences can break new ground in the music scene." Debora's heart pounded with a mix of excitement and cautious disbelief. She took a deep breath before responding, "Thank you, Michael. This means more to me than words can express. I never imagined that my secret practice sessions would lead to this." As she signed the contract with a flourish that belied her humble beginnings, a wave of hope surged through her. The ink on the paper seemed to symbolize a new chapter in her life, a moment when dreams could take flight beyond the confines of a restaurant. That very evening, as Debora walked home through the softly lit streets of New Orleans, she couldn't help but reflect on everything that had brought her to this moment. The memory of Harrison Lawson's cruel demands and the palpable tension in the restaurant gave way to the euphoric sound of applause echoing in her ears. Each step she took was accompanied by a swell of pride and an inner promise. She would not allow anyone to diminish her passion or potential. Sitting on her stoop, Debora retrieved her well-worn diary, a repository of her private thoughts and the hard-won lessons learned over years of self-doubt and solitary practice. In quiet contemplation, she jotted down a few lines. "Every note, every moment spent honing my craft, has proven that true talent defies expectation. In a world eager to dismiss and doubt, let your passion speak louder than the naysayers. Believe in yourself and let your dreams take flight." Her reflection was not just personal. It was a call to arms for countless others who had ever been underestimated or constrained by bias. The viral video of her performance had transformed her into a symbol of perseverance, inspiring fellow artists and dreamers to rise up and claim their rightful voices. Across campus and throughout the city, workshops and community events began to feature her story as a beacon of hope for those who dare to challenge the status quo. Debora embraced every opportunity to speak about her journey, emphasizing that while talent is often hidden beneath layers of everyday struggle, it will always find a way to shine if nurtured with persistence and passion. As the days turned into weeks, her contract with Michael Everett's studio launched, paving the way for Debora's first public concert and recording session. The once overlooked waitress had now become a celebrated artist, her journey a testament to the power of self-belief and the courage to defy expectations. In the final moments of that transformative day, Debora took to her social media once more. In a heartfelt video update, she said, "Never let anyone tell you that you aren't enough. Every struggle, every setback, it all leads to a moment of clarity where you realize your true worth. Trust your talent, hold fast to your dreams, and above all, believe in yourself." Her words resonated with thousands across the internet, as the message of unwavering self-belief spread like wildfire. What do you think is the most powerful lesson in Debora's journey from overlooked waitress to celebrated musician? Have you ever found your hidden potential when it mattered most? Write your opinion in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. I hope you enjoyed this story. Leave a comment, sharing your thoughts about it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new and equally exciting stories. See you in the next video.